of what we did this morning. And I don't know whether, I think I have in that 8-page summary a one-page like you have. Well, you do have the one page in there, so it might not be in that. But I summarized that. I've got the drops in there, and I've got the CG, and I kind of put it all together in 8 pages, so you don't have to take that big thing and can't carry that around in your office and read slides. Okay, I was hoping they would print it out. I've asked them to print it, but if it's not printed, which it may not get done this late because of printing ability here, they can download it, the file, and email it to you. So if they're not printing it, would you make a list? I'm not sure who will do it, but they should do a mass email or an individual email to those, and you just ask them for the mail treatment protocol summary. It's 8 pages, 4 pages double-sided. It has a little version of the graph. It has the testing. It has the treatment things, kind of all summarized where you can look at it real quickly. So I apologize for not having that done ahead of time or on time where they got it printed up with this, but you will get it. The female is more complex. There's a lot more. You'll get those in this, and I think as you go through and take notes, the little pearls that I give you, you'll be able to kind of mark them down and condense them yourself into things that you might want to remember, the little drops and the doses and so on. But I hope I'll have enough with what I'm giving you. I love pearls. You know, we all have them. And anybody who's practiced for 20 years has a few little things they rely on. And I've often thought we ought to have a book, a published document, maybe an open document, a website, something where people can say, you know, I don't want to die and leave this behind. There's something I stumbled on, something I used, simple, whatever, works most of the time, safe, easy, a pearl. And, you know, they gave a lecture on medical pearls in medical school, and, you know, these little pearls were an old guy getting up talking about things that work, and he talked about kidney stones. He said, you know, I've found if you're passing a kidney stone, if you get in a hot tub of water and run the hot water, you know how you can kind of upregulate it and really cook? It's very relaxing. It's very smooth muscle relaxing. It's antispasmodic. It's vasodilating. And at the same time, you drink. Okay? Now, in the hot water, it usually makes you want to pee. So you get a nice increase in surge of flow through the ureters at the same time that you may be breaking spasm and relaxing the ureters and stones. I've used this over the years. It's one of those little pearls. Not all stones pass. But I'll even give them a little Lasix. Tell them to go drink a beer. That's got a little thing, and then relaxes them a little. They get in the thing, and they take a little 20-milligram Lasix or something and drink water while they're sitting in there for 20, 25 minutes and run the water hotter as much as they comfortably can steam. And these stones pass. It's been amazing how often that's been worked as a home remedy. So otherwise, you're in the emergency room. They're doing baskets and setting you up for blasting the stones and so on. But little pearls, some of these this afternoon are some of my pearls, and I hope to kind of get a medical pearl section and have people contribute little things that they know that they can share and kind of build this kind of database of medical pearls that will go on long after we're gone that we're pretty sure are going to be effective most of the time for most people. Vitamin D is fascinating, absolutely. It's the more I read on this, the more astounding vitamin D is. So I'm going to do a little section. I consider vitamin D a hormone. I consider it an anti-aging hormone. I consider it one of the hormones we should measure, treat, just like all the other hormones we're talking about. So we're going to call it vitamin D hormone. Probably the most important area is in cancer. And I'll show you some stuff that's astounding on cancer. But heart disease, coronary calcification, bone density, neuromuscular function, cognitive function, maybe Alzheimer's, anti-inflammatory for autoimmune diseases, The list goes on and on. It is absolutely astounding what they're turning up, and consistently in the literature now, with mechanisms that make sense. Epidemiologic studies show inverse relationships to solar radiation and cancer incidence and mortality, chemopreventive through inhibition of carcinogenesis in vivo, and anti-cancer through many, many mechanisms. Scandinavian study, this was in one of the endocrinology news. As I said, they're producing, I read these kind of scan them, and almost every endocrinology news has a thing on vitamin D of something. And this one caught my eye, a 5-fold reduction in incidence of breast cancer with a 25 micromole. That's not a huge difference, but in large groups, that is a fairly large group difference. It's 10 ng per ml. That's not in the measurable range, normal range, which they did in equatorial areas, is 20 to 100. You won't see anybody in the 80 to 100 range under most circumstances. And most of the people I find are below 30, and many below 20. So that 10 micromole may be the difference between, say, 30 and 40, 40 and 50, somewhere in that range. Not huge, and really easy to achieve, but probably has to be achieved long-term to be effective. Harvard Men's Study, prospective study, 50,000 men. This is a big one. They looked at the difference between the highest and lowest quartiles on vitamin D status, 17% reduction in total cancer. I think I might have gone over this earlier. 30% reduction in overall cancer mortality. What does that tell you? It tells you these people are surviving cancer much more often than the incidence. So, it is not only cancer protective from the incidence, but it reduces mortality if you get it. You have better outcomes. Same thing with GI cancer. All GI cancers, that's colon and pancreas and stomach and esophageal and so on, 43% reduction. That's huge in incidence, 47% reduction in mortality. Again, slightly improved overall mortality than incidence, which is unusual. That's almost a 50% reduction in GI cancer. It's number 2 on the list for men and women. I think it's going to grow as we get more. And as research is done, maybe we'll get an increase in chemopreventive at more than that 10 nanograms per ml difference. This is in, I think, the best review article in Endocrine Reviews. That's a great reference. It's a nice long article, and it's not talking about rickets and bones. It's talking about all the other things, and it takes, 30, 40 pages, and it has 400 or 500 references. It's an excellent summary of all the beneficial effects and all the different diseases, at least boom, 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 goes through them. But this caught my eye. If you look at if you have anybody in here an oncologist, or know much about cancer genes, proto-oncogenes, and so on, apoptosis genes. If you look at the genes that have been measured that are related to that have vitamin D receptors and are regulated by vitamin D, the ones in the positive column that are stimulated are kind of anti-cancer genes. They're the apoptosis genes, they're the anti-cell cyclin genes, they're the cell differentiation genes. They're all upregulated by not all genes, but many of the ones that are in those categories are upregulated by vitamin D. On the negative side, you'll find the genes that are the pro-growth, cyclin, stimulate growth, and so on, and anti-apoptosis genes that are downregulated. It's the perfect anti-cancer gene regulator. And so it makes sense that when we look at these epidemiologic data, that there is actually a mechanism in the genetic oncogene area that would answer that. So there's a good scientific mechanism, a good connection between what they're seeing and some of these reported anti-cancer effects.